Good morning and welcome to Morning Meditations. We're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 9 this morning. And as I was reading through Proverbs chapter 9, a couple of thoughts came to my mind. It's a comparison between wisdom and foolishness. I saw one pastor that said it's a comparison between Christ and the world. Certainly a comparison between righteousness and sin. I'd like to give you three thoughts this morning. Number one, in Proverbs chapter 9, we see a competing call. If we look at verse 3, wisdom says, "She has sent forth her maiden, she hath cried upon the high place of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. For him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Come eat of my bread, and drink of my wine, which I have mingled." If we look down at the comparison in verse 14, talking about the foolish woman, it says, "A foolish woman is clamorous, she is simple and knoweth nothing. She sitteth at the door of her house, at the seat in the high place of the city." The thing you'll notice about both of these is they were both sitting in the high place. It's a competing call. There's always a competing call in our life for righteousness and unrighteousness, wisdom versus foolishness. We need to be able to identify that competing call and let God guide and direct in our life. Second, when I was reading Proverbs 9, I saw this, a complicated comparison. If you look at verse 5 and 6, speaking about wisdom, it says, "Come eat of my bread and drink of my wine, which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding." If you look down to verse 16 and 17, "Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant." So both of them have bread prepared. One is wise, one is unwise, and one is foolish. And boy, we need to be careful about that in the day and time that we live in. So we see a competing call, a complicating comparison, but last of all, I see in chapter 9 a compelling consequence. If we choose wisdom, verse 10 says this, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, the years of thy life shall be increased. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself." Foolishness in verse 18 says, "But he knoweth not the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell." Boy, I don't see anything more clear than Proverbs chapter 9 on the competing call, the complicating comparison, and the compelling consequences. Let's make sure that each day we are turning to Christ, turning to wisdom, turning away from foolishness and unrighteousness. Satan is really good at making foolishness look better than righteousness. But God makes a very distinct comparison in Proverbs chapter 9. And I would encourage you to read that, make the comparison for yourself. Make sure we're living according to wisdom. God always promises the best for last. Satan always puts the best out front, and then we end up with the dregs. I want to encourage you, continue praying, continue trusting the Lord during this time. Continue reading your Bible, memorizing and meditating, and realizing that wisdom is the choice and the fear of the Lord is the beginning of that wisdom. God bless you and have a good day.